Hello, everybody. Dennis Hurst here. Belated Happy Thanksgiving to you all, and looking forward to a wonderful Christmas season. I thought I'd come before you for a few minutes because it is now about noonish on Thursday, December 2nd, and at about 5:30 last evening, having been fidgeting around all day awaiting them, I received my what we call author's press copy of the hard book, in this case, of America on the Cusp of God's Grace, along with the softcover version, 460 pages, full of historical content, full of some of the challenges we're facing in this day and age with other ideologies, Islam being the main one, and a section at the towards the end of what we can do to get our nation and our communities and even ourselves back under God's grace. What do I mean by America on the cusp of God's grace? Well, I finally made it as a citizen of the United States in the fall of 1981. And arriving as I did during the presidency of Ronald Wilson Reagan didn't hurt. What I saw and experienced those 7 or 8 years of his presidency was the same kind of American spirit of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness that I had witnessed in the immediate years following World War II as a young boy, when we had a US Air Force base, Burtonwood we called it, Burtonwood Air Force Base. It was also designated US Air Force Base 590, and there were some 20,000 airmen and other military personnel who were stationed there to support the D-Day landings in Normandy. Suffice to say that my sister and I became enamored with the largesse and just the friendliness of those American airmen. And actually, as you read in the book, as a 5 or 6 year old young boy, those seeds to one day live in America were sown in those very days following World War II. America on the cusp of God's grace. We have, in the last, particularly the last 2 years, 22 months, but more particularly in the last 20, 25 years, this nation has allowed itself to get so far away from the tenets of godly living that I doubt if most of the population of America realizes the degree of evil that surrounds us. And this has just become so exacerbated, if you will, by the great threat that we face from radical Islam. And so I felt it was an opportune time, excuse me, for me to finish really what I started off with my 2006 book titled The Biblical Connection to the Stars and Stripes. I left so much material on the editing table because we were trying to limit it to 200, 250 pages that I really didn't feel we had got to the meat and potatoes of the danger facing America. So I began working on this America on the Cusp of God's Grace probably 2 or 3 years ago, and the actual writing took place from about March of this year until we finished the manuscript in September. What I've attempted to do here, and I must say I managed to read it through again last night, is to, number one, give the history of the nation, but not in a tome of 500-600 volumes long, but in a language and with headings that make it easy for someone like me or like yourself to be able to pick it up and say, okay, the seeds of freedom, what does that mean? So that's section 1, part 1. Part 2 is a constitutional republic. Part 3, conflicting ideologies. That's where we tackle, the modern day threats that we face. No need to name them, but Iran's one, China's another one, radical Islam is yet another, and yet we've got a creeping inside enemy going on within our communities right now, that if we're not careful, we'll be get taken over without realizing it. But then what's the answer? Part 4 tackles that, which is called a new revival. And then, of course, you've got all kinds of, I've got all the founding documents are in the back of the book, and all resource and reference materials. So it's part history book, it is part commentary, and part solution to get us back to those rip-roaring days, if you will, the new awakening, the evangelical preachers who sowed the seeds of freedom in people like John Adams and his cousin Samuel, even Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. Movements like theirs don't come along all of a sudden. We know that God works in ages, and it just so happens that the 300 people, for instance, who came over on the sailing ship Arabella in the 1600s, they became the seeds that were later to expose themselves as we, the people. So we are the inheritors of one of the greatest in fact, the only constitutional republic that has ever been put on the face of the planet Earth. And God's covering has been very secure and very evident over that constitutional republic until, let's say, exactly 100 years ago, when Woodrow Wilson allowed himself to be drawn away from those godly tenets, and we got this progressive agenda which over the years has little by little unthreaded our connection to godly living. So part 4 of the book, a new revival, means putting America back under God's covering and under the auspices of Jesus Christ. The hardcover version has a list price of $38.95. The soft cover at $28.95. I have no connection with setting prices. These are the publisher's prices, and there is a ebook version available for $9.99. I know a lot of us are living in hard times, challenging times at the moment financially. So what I'm suggesting, which seems to be, I have to wait to hear back from the publisher, but everyone who requests a signed copy of a hardback 235 edition, then I would also include in there the ebook version, which will be another $10 value. So for the price of $38.95, you would also receive an ebook version of America on the Cusp of God's Grace. I find those ebooks very interesting. I mean, more cerebrally, yes, I like to pull the book off the shelf and read it at my leisure. But when I'm in my own writing and I need a reference point, then I can pull the e-version down, go to the chapter I'm looking for, pick out the sentence or paragraph or two, paste it and copy it. So I find it very useful in my day-to-day workings. So to recap, softcover $28.95, hardcover is $38.95, and for the signed copy limited edition of 235, I would include a copy of the ebook. The signed copies, of course, the book is available Barnes & Noble. I don't think it's hit their lists yet, but it's on its way. Amazon, all Bookstop, all the majors, just has the Biblical Connection. It is already listed on the publisher's own website, which I can supply to you, but the signed copies of the limited edition would have to be purchased from me, because I need to have the books shipped here so that I can sign them, number them, and then ship them all out to you. So I think that's enough for now. I did want to make sure I had a few minutes with you to let you know they are here. They look wonderful. It's set in a Garamond type, which is a kind of a typeface which befits the part of the period piece. And I couldn't be any happier with the production and the appearance of the books themselves. So let me hear from you. You've all got my information on Facebook. If you go to, I guess it's the left side of my page, my websites are all listed there, and my telephone number and email and so on and so forth. Or you can just message me, probably, which is the easiest method of all. So I just want to thank you all for your support. Some of you have been very supportive when I was struggling with certain sections and so on and so forth. But again, as I keep looking at that portrait of the face and the head of Christ over there, if we can fulfill everything that he has in mind for us, and as the post that I posted the other day from W. Graham Scroggie, we've trying and failed. If we now try trusting and see what happens, we probably will be more than surprised at the outcome and what Christ has in mind for each and every one of us. So in the meantime, know that you're all in my prayers and my thoughts, and that together, the power of one means a whole lot in changing the world. And as Paul was accused of many, many times, he turned the world upside down. So let's go forth and do the will of Christ and the will of God in this greatest constitutional republic ever put on planet Earth. And let us preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. God bless you all, and we'll see you later.